You know, when you shared those notes on Atomic Habits by James Clear, it really struck a chord. It taps into that feeling we all get sometimes, right? Feeling stuck.
Hmm.
Like you're pushing for a goal, maybe getting fitter, or starting that creative thing, or just, getting life a bit more organized, but you keep hitting a wall, or
Yeah,
it just feels huge, overwhelming.
absolutely. It's a very common experience.
So today, we're diving deep into the wisdom from your sources on Clear's work. And our mission, really, is to pull out those really practical, actionable bits, the stuff that shows how tiny, consistent changes day after day can add up to something massive.
Yeah, huge results
Yeah.
in pretty much any part of your life.
And it's about being smart about your setup, isn't it? Not just relying on willpower, which, let's face it, can disappear pretty quickly.
That's the core of it, really. It's a fundamental shift. If there's one big idea, Clear hammers home, it's this. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your system.
Okay, unpack that a bit. Systems over goals.
Well, think about it. Goals tell you where you want to go. They give you direction, which is important, absolutely.
Sure.
But it's the system, the daily processes, the routines you follow that actually determines if you get there. That's where the real change happens, or it doesn't happen.
Right. So goals are like the destination on the map, but the system is the car, the actual journey plan. If I want to learn French, the goal is fluency, but the system is maybe 15 minutes of practice every morning.
Precisely. Without the system, the goal is just a wish, a nice idea. And that's where his whole atomic habits idea comes in. It's about starting small, almost ridiculously small.
Atomic, like tiny fundamental building block.
Exactly. The secret isn't some massive overhaul overnight. It's about these tiny habits that are crucially easy to do consistently. They're stackable, you can link them together, and, this is important, they align with the kind of person you actually want to be.
That alignment piece feels key. But let's talk about the tiny aspect first, the 1% rule. That concept really makes you stop and think about small improvements.
Oh yeah, it sounds almost too simple. But the math behind it is pretty compelling.
What is it again? Improve 1% a day.
In over a year, you'll be 37 times better. 37 times.
Mm.
It's just the power of compound, like compound interest, but for your habits.
Wow. Okay, when you put it like that.
And it's not just money, right? It applies everywhere.
Yeah.
Your mindset, your fitness, learning a skill, your relationships even. Those tiny improvements or tiny setbacks, they all add up over time. Big time.
It really speaks to trusting the process, even when you don't see results immediately. Like, you're learning guitar, and for weeks it just sounds awful. You feel like you're getting nowhere. And then suddenly one day, you nail a chord change smoothly, it clicks. But it wouldn't have clicked without all those weeks of tiny, seemingly unproductive practice. Clear really gets that delay, doesn't he?
He really does. And he explains why that process works or sometimes fails by breaking down how habits actually form. He uses this model called the habit loop.
Okay, the habit loop, I remember this. It's a cycle, right? 4 steps.
Yep, 4 steps. And understanding this cycle is basically like getting the instruction manual for your own behavior. You can start to tweak it deliberately.
So walk us through it. What kicks it off?
It starts with a cue. That's the trigger, the little prompt that tells your brain, okay, time to initiate this behavior. It could be anything, a time of day, a place, an emotion, seeing something.
Like my phone buzzing, that's a cue to check it.
Exactly. Then comes the craving. This is the motivational engine. So not usually a craving for the action itself, but for the change in state the action promises.
Change in state. So I don't crave scrolling Instagram. I crave what? Relief from boredom, distraction.
Precisely. Or connection or novelty.
Right.
The brain anticipates that feeling, that shift. That's the craving.
Okay. Cue craving, then the actual habit.
Yep, the response. That's the habit you perform, whether it's checking your phone, eating a snack, going for a run, whatever.
And finally,
The reward. This is what closes the loop. It's the satisfaction you get, the problem that gets solved, the craving that gets fulfilled. And that reward teaches your brain, hey, that sequence worked. Let's remember that for next time.
cue, craving, response, reward.
Got it. And knowing this loop means you can mess with it, like intervene at different points.
Exactly. You can hack the loop, make good habits easier to start and stick, and make bad habits harder to fall into. And that's where his 4 laws come in. They're the practical tools for manipulating that loop.
Yes, the 4 laws of behavior change. These are super practical. Let's go through them. The first one.
Law number 1 is make it obvious. This targets the cue. For a good habit, you want the cue to be unmissable.
Like putting your running shoes right by the door the night before. You literally trip over the cue.
Perfect example. Or, like you said earlier, putting fruit in a bowl on the counter. Make the cue obvious. And the flip side for breaking a bad habit.
Make it invisible. Hide the cue. Right. If you snack mindlessly while watching TV, maybe don't keep snacks in the living room. Put them away in a cupboard, out of sight. Make the cue invisible. Reduce exposure.
Okay, simple enough. Law 2.
Make it attractive.
Yeah.
This one targets the craving. You want to associate the desired habit with pleasure or anticipation.
How do you do that? Like pairing something you need to do with something you want to do.
Yeah, that's a great technique called temptation bundling. Like, I'll only listen to my favorite podcast while I'm exercising.
Yeah.
You link the wanting with the needing. Or you reframe the habit. Instead of have to exercise, it's I get to build strength and energy.
And for bad habits, make it unattractive.
Exactly. Highlight the costs or downsides of the bad habit. Think about the negative consequences. Maybe have an accountability partner who calls you out, making it socially unattractive to slip up. Or focus on the benefits of avoiding the bad habit.
Makes sense. Leveraging our natural desires. What's the third law?
Make it easy. This focuses on the response, the action itself. Reduce the friction. Lower the barrier to entry for good habits.
Like the classic example of laying out your workout clothes the night before makes it just that tiny bit easier to get started in the morning.
Totally. Or the 2-minute rule. Just commit to doing the habit for 2 minutes. Want to read more? Just read 1 page. Want to run? Just put on your shoes. Make it so easy you can't say no.
And for bad habits, you do the opposite. Make it difficult.
Increase the friction. Add steps. If you want to watch less TV, maybe take the batteries out of the remote and keep them in another room. That little bit of hassle can be enough to deter you in the moment.
I like that one. Okay, final law. Law 4.
Make it satisfying. This closes the loop by focusing on the reward. Good habits need to feel good immediately if possible. Our brains prioritize immediate rewards over delayed ones.
Right, because the benefit of exercising might be months away, but the discomfort is now. So how do you make it satisfying now?
Tracking is a big one. Use a habit tracker, crossing off days on a calendar, watching a progress bar fill up. That gives you a little hit of satisfaction, a visual cue of progress. Or give yourself a small, healthy reward immediately after completing the habit.
And for bad habits, make it unsatisfying.
Make the consequence immediate and, well, unsatisfying. Having an accountability partner you have to report to and maybe pay if you slip up like a commitment contract.
Yeah.
The pain or cost associated with the bad habit needs to be felt quickly.
Okay, those 4 laws, obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying, provide a really solid framework. But you mentioned something earlier. Clear takes it deeper than just the actions. Something about identity.
Ah, yes. Identity-based habits.
Yeah.
This, for me, is maybe the most profound part of the book.
Yeah.
It's just true. Lasting change isn't just about what you do, it's about who you believe you are.
Okay. How does that work?
Instead of focusing only on the outcome, I want to lose 20 pounds, you focus on the type of person you want to become. I'm a healthy person who makes good food choices. The goal shifts from achieving something to embodying an identity.
So it's like instead of I want to write a book, it's I am a writer. And a writer writes every day, maybe.
Exactly. The focus is on becoming that person. And each time you perform a habit aligned with that identity, like writing for 15 minutes, you're essentially casting a vote for being that type of person. Clear says, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become.
Wow. That reframes everything. Each tiny habit isn't just a step towards a goal, it's reinforcing who you are. That feels much more powerful.
It really is. Because when your habits align with your identity, they feel less like chores and more like just expressing who you are. They stick better.
Okay, so we have the laws, we have the identity shift.
Right.
Let's talk about getting really practical. Implementation. One strategy you mentioned from the sources is habit stacking. How does that work again?
Habit stacking is brilliant because it uses an existing habit as the cue for a new one. The formula is basically, after current habit, I will new habit.
Okay, so like after I brush my teeth, I will meditate for 1 minute.
Perfect. Brushing your teeth is already ingrained. You don't think about it. By linking the new habit, meditation, to it, you leverage that automaticity. It tells you exactly when and where to do the new habit. No decision fatigue.
That's super smart. Removes the guesswork. And it ties into another big idea, right? About not just relying on willpower.
Oh, absolutely. Environment over willpower. This is huge. Clearsey basically argues that willpower is finite and unreliable. It's much more effective to design your environment so that the good habits are easy and the bad habits are hard.
I love that quote he apparently uses. You don't have to be disciplined. You have to be smart about your setup. That really resonates. It takes the pressure off feeling like a failure if your willpower dips.
Exactly. It's about optimizing your surroundings.
Hmm?
Want to eat healthier, make healthy food visible and accessible, and hide or remove the junk food. Want to practice guitar more? Leave it out on a stand, not packed away in its case. Reduce the friction.
Make the path of least resistance the path you actually want to take. Design your world for success.
That's the goal. Make good cues obvious and attractive. Make bad cues invisible and unattractive. Make good responses easy and satisfying. Make bad responses difficult and unsatisfying. It's proactive design.
But even with the best design sometimes, it just feels like nothing's happening, right? You're putting in the effort, but the scale isn't moving, or you still can't speak fluent French. This is where people often give up.
Yes, and Clear has a name for this, the plateau of latent potential. It's that frustrating period where your efforts are accumulating, but the results haven't shown up yet.
Latent potential, like it's building up under the surface.
Exactly. He uses the analogy of an ice cube in a cold room. You raise the temperature slowly, 25 degrees, 26, 27. Nothing seems to change. It's still ice.
Still ice, still frustrating.
Right, but the work has happened. Then you hit 32 degrees and bam, it starts melting. The change was gradual, invisible for a long time, then suddenly becomes apparent. That breakthrough often happens right after the point where most people quit.
That's such a powerful image. It really highlights why consistency is king, even when you feel like you're spinning your wheels. You have to trust that the heat is accumulating.
And it leads to another great quote. You should be far more concerned with your current trajectory than with your current results. Are you pointed in the right direction? Are you putting in those 1% improvements? If so, trust that the results will eventually catch up.
Okay, looking at the whole picture, the loops, the laws, the identity shift, the plateau, it's easy to see why Atomic Habits has struck such a chord. What do your sources say are its biggest strengths? Why does it resonate so much?
Well, number one is probably how incredibly actionable it is. It's not just theory. Every chapter gives you concrete strategies, summaries, real-world examples from all walks of life, athletes, CEOs, regular people. You finish reading and feel like you know exactly what to do.
Yeah, it feels like a user manual for behavior change. And it's grounded in science too, right? Not just self-help fluff.
Definitely. It draws heavily on behavioral psychology, neuroscience. But it presents it in a really accessible way. It's science-backed without being dense or academic. That gives the advice real credibility.
And the clarity, his writing style, the analogies like the ice cube or the habit loop, the visual models they make, the concepts really stick. It's memorable.
Very memorable. And maybe the biggest strength is its universality. It's truly life agnostic. Whether you want to improve your health, work, creativity, finances, reduce bad habits, the principles apply across the board. It's incredibly flexible.
True. It's not just for one specific goal. Are there any downsides or criticisms mentioned in your sources? No book is perfect for everyone.
A couple of things, though they might also be seen as strengths, depending on your perspective. First, it's definitely not for people seeking instant gratification. It's all about the long game, consistency, gradual improvement, no quick fixes here.
Right. If you want a magic bullet, this isn't it. It requires patience.
Exactly. And second, some readers might find some of the core ideas a bit repetitive. Clear to circle back to reinforce the main concepts like the 4 laws or the importance of systems.
Yeah, I can see that. But honestly, for habit change, maybe that repetition is actually helpful to really drill it in.
I tend to agree. For practical application, that kind of reinforcement can be really valuable for retention and making sure you actually use the ideas, not just read them. It feels intentional.
So wrapping this up, this deep dive really underscores a powerful message. Don't underestimate the impact of those tiny, consistent changes. That 1% matters a lot.
It really does. And shifting your focus from just goals to building effective systems, that seems to be the real key to unlocking lasting change.
Absolutely. The sources suggest Atomic Habits offers a clear, practical manual for doing just that. Building good habits, breaking bad ones, and kind of taking control of those invisible forces that shape so much of our daily lives.
It gives you the levers to pull based on understanding how your own mind works. Simple, scientific, and ultimately quite motivating.
So the final thought for everyone listening, maybe something to chew on. Considering everything we've talked about, identity, systems, those tiny votes we cast with our action, it's one small atomic vote you could cast today, right now even, for the person you want to become.